All right, here we go. It's the new season. The new exciting Call of Duty has arrived. We're in the open beta of Black Ops multiplayer. Black Ops, I know, holds a special place in a lot of people's hearts, and I really did like Cold War, but the other games didn't really grab me. I feel like the last year of Call of Duty has really turned me off to the single player experience because I thought Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 just wasn't that great. So much so that it kind of just turned me off to Call of Duty as a whole. But considering I played, I don't know, like 600-700 hours between the last like 2 years, I feel like I've earned my keep and I'm allowed to rest. So with that said, the new game coming out this year, the new multiplayer, the new Black Ops, honestly didn't really wow me. And I wasn't planning on getting it. I just wasn't even interested in it. I didn't want it. I knew it existed, but I didn't care. I have to say, though, after playing the open beta this weekend with just the multiplayer, obviously, there's no single player story, kind of won me over again. I don't know if I'm going to be a day one purchase. I know a lot of times they do buy one, get one free around the holidays, and they usually drop the price to like $40 at some point later on, maybe like season 2 or 3. I could see myself getting back into it, maybe. The multiplayer was really good, and for a couple different reasons, and what you're looking at here is just one of the many multiplayer matches that I played over the weekend. I know this game has a lot of improvements that they've done on mechanics, like the free diving system. I really don't care about that personally. You typically watch me play. I don't sprint much anymore. I just kind of walk with a shotgun and just kind of, you know, check corners and just destroy things. And that's kind of how I've always played. I wouldn't say I'm the fastest runner gunner. I never was. I'm just a little more methodical in these games. So a lot of the new movement mechanics didn't really mean a lot to me personally. The one thing that I did like that they've added is when you're aiming down your iron sights, you have an automatic lean put into your movement, which is really, really good. I feel like the other Call of Duties I remember had that lean button where you would kind of have to slowly work your way out. Now it's just automatic. So there is more just built-in intuitiveness, I think, in the overall experience of running and shooting, which I appreciate. I really do like that. The shotgun felt great. As you know, I'm a huge fan of shotguns. If there's a game that has a shotgun or a bow and arrow, rest assured I am most likely going to use it. So I'm a big fan of the shotgun. I think the most amount of kills I've had in any of the last couple Call of Duty games were the pump action shotgun. I just really, really like it. You're going to see some of that right here in a minute of just some really, really crazy camping that actually pays off really, really well. I think it nets me the play of the game. Lots of fun. But the shotgun actually feels really good in this game. I think it's got a lot of power to it. And yes, I did kill myself with the bookcase. And then I do it again to show a friend. So that was, the first one was actually on accident. The second one was on purpose. I was yelling at my buddy Kevin, "Kevin, you have to come back. Kevin, turn around." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "Come here, I want to show you the secret corridor." He's like, "Oh, cool." I'm like, "Stand in there and watch this." He's like, "Okay, what happens?" And then I go, "Check this out." Squish. I like the dynamic stuff. I like the dynamic stuff of the level. The shotgun felt really good. The one-shot kill potential is amazing. And that's really, I don't say that's like iconic for a Call of Duty game, but it felt good. I really liked it. So I'm happy where the shotgun ended up. As far as the level design, definitely significantly more compact levels that are very dense, that have multiple attack paths, which I like. Lots of terrain, lots of great places to set up cover fire, and lots of great places to kind of like worm around the map. This particular map had that bookcase, which you just saw me kill myself in numerous times. But it has a bookcase which kind of leads to this hidden level underneath it. It also has a special feature where you can basically lock down a room. It's like a safe room, essentially, where you can lock down the safe room by activating this computer. And I like that a lot, too, because I feel, again, like you're getting almost a sense of like that levolution, which was missing for so long. I know Battlefield 4 just will always be iconic for that. This is probably the closest we'll ever get to that again. So when you have nice, dense maps with multiple ways to attack, with multiple ways to kind of modify the map, I feel like you get yourself in like a really good place. So I feel like the map design is really, really solid, and I really like that. As far as the controls go with, like I said, all the jumping and climbing and all that new stuff, only thing I really use a lot is the auto aim, which is fine. That's good enough. The one thing that I love the most, though, is the feeling I got with the DualSense controller. They have definitely quadrupled down on haptics. The sound effects, the slight vibration in the cocking of weapons, the shooting of weapons, grenades, getting shot, melee, taking enemies as like hostage shields, all have distinct vibrations and distinct patterns in the controller, and they all felt great. Walking around with this shotgun, shooting it, feeling the tension trigger as I pull down on the trigger to shoot, and that instant like release and that heavy vibration just felt so good. And honestly, that feeling alone is what makes me want to just dive into this and just buy this game and play it, because I know a lot of people are talking about how Astrobot's games have kind of been the gold standard in haptic feedback. I would say this is the gold standard in first-person shooting haptic feedback. It is like returnal levels of control and feeling. It is that good. And I highly recommend, if you have the ability to play this game on a DualSense, do it. Don't play it on an Xbox. Don't play it on a keyboard and mouse. Play it with a DualSense in your hand, and you will really, really be in for a treat. Just as an aside, you saw the shutters went down. So we did lock down that room, which actually worked out well. It was an objective that we were supposed to hold. We dropped the shutters down. It makes it a little bit easier to defend. It reduces the amount of entry points by the enemy. So that's what I mean. There's some good level design in there as well. But going back to just the DualSense, it was, man, it was so, so good. And it felt amazing. As far as the other stuff is concerned, the perk system, the character design and everything, I know they like to put their own spin on the kill streaks. They're largely the same kill streaks you're going to get. The HUD looks a little better. It does use that iconic Cold War, or not Cold War, I should say. It uses that iconic Black Ops, where you have that bright orange with black, which looks good. You see that a lot on the menu design. The 120 frame per second mode works great on PlayStation 5, with one major caveat. For some reason, it doesn't stay locked at 120 frame per second mode. And it's not to say, when I say that, I don't mean the frame rate goes up and down. It does stay at a locked 120 FPS. You know, it doesn't sometimes drop to like 103 or 104. It stays at 120. I like that. What I mean is, it's constantly toggling between 120 hertz output and a 60 hertz output. And on most TVs, mine included, every time it switches from one output to the other, the TV basically turns off and then back on for a brief second. I shouldn't say off, the picture goes away. And it's adjusting between the one mode versus the other mode. And what happens is you still have the audio going, but when you're loading up matches, or you're deep diving into a menu as the game loads into a match, or when the game is coming out of a match, you lose that handshake between your television and your PlayStation 5. And sometimes I actually had to hit the menu button to force it to go back to 120 frames per second mode to get back into a game, because the game would be starting and I was still trying to like sync up. I don't know why they made that design choice. This did not happen in any previous Call of Duty game, and this has not happened in any other 120 hertz game that I have played. It is just this particular game. And I'm going to hope that that's like a beta-ism, and that's why they did that. It's just like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll fix it later. But that's the one hard thing that I would say would completely turn me off from buying this game, because that was annoying as hell. And it really did break the flow of the experience jumping in from match to match to match, because I constantly had to wait for my TV to re-handshake with the PlayStation 5. That was my biggest frustration. But in terms of everything else, this game it worked really well. Like I said, the kill streak system isn't anything revolutionary. The perk system isn't anything revolutionary. And honestly, for my particular play style, the movement isn't anything revolutionary. But I think that it's doubled down in things that mattered the most. It's got a really nice level of polish. There's a lot of really good bloom lighting. Maybe some very, very light ray tracing in there. I'm not sure, unless those are just really, really well baked in shadows. I love the ragdoll physics when you shoot somebody, depending on, especially with a shotgun with such impact. If you shoot a guy in like the upper part of his body, they'll fold over backwards. If you shoot a guy in their ankles, they kind of like stumble forward. Their gun goes flying out of their hands when they die. It's got a very satisfying tactile feel on the ragdoll physics, and I feel like when I, absolutely smoke somebody, like I really just eviscerated them. And I like that. I thought that was a really, really good touch. I don't remember that being in the previous Call of Duties. I mean, there was a little bit of the ragdoll physics, but not like this. These ragdoll physics are next level. So I feel like, they've done everything. It's a very by the numbers Call of Duty. But I feel like they've just refined the things that matter the most. There was haptic feedback before, but it's significantly better. There was multiple compact levels that had minor Levolution type design to them that they doubled down on and made better. The 120 frame per second mode is locked at 120 frames per second. That did not become better, obviously, when they toggled down to 60 during some menus. But the haptic feedback, like I said, they did good. They did really good on a lot of this stuff, but it's not the hottest, latest, greatest thing. Now, if you're like a die-hard Call of Duty fan, then obviously you've already pre-ordered this. If you're a die-hard Call of Duty fan, then you've probably really invested in the Black Ops storyline and you want to see where that goes next. But for me, I think I'm just always been invested in multiplayer. That's kind of my bread and butter, like this kind of competitive 6v6 multiplayer. So if I was going to get back into it, it would be solely for this. So I'm not in any rush to like get any story spoilers or anything like that. But yeah, I think it's a good start for the season. These games only get better with time. There's a lot of stuff that we have to keep reinventing the wheel on, and here we go again. Finding things that were fixed in like Modern Warfare 1 and 2, which kind of rear their ugly head here again. But I think it's in a good place. Last little nitpick as I close out this video, the hit markers last a little too long. My friend Wes pointed this out, and I absolutely agree. When you're shooting a character with a gun, what ends up happening is you get hit markers well after the exchange has happened, and it doesn't give a true one-to-one of each hit marker matching to the bullet. And what that does is it makes you feel like you're potentially doing more damage than you are. Because of some of the down but not out mechanics, this is a problem, and I think it needs to be addressed. So really, I wouldn't say that's a game-breaking thing. It's just more of an annoyance. It's something you kind of get used to. I'm okay with that, I guess, but I would like to see that fixed. But I really, really need to see that locked 120/60 mode get fixed, and I think then I would be much more invested in potentially buying this. But there you have it. My entire shotgun thoughts on everything Call of Duty. The beta was fun. Go check it out. Thanks so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.